Hey, Shalom. To start this lesson off, I want to give all honor, all glory, and all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well, whose labors we've entered into. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect, and to the brothers and sisters, the Akim and the Akwaf tuning in. May this lesson be edifying. This is the brother Halal from the Great Millstone Chicago branch, coming at you with another lesson of truth. And this lesson is going to be entitled, Amalek has always profited from blood, even from ours. Currently at this current moment, in the world, with this war going on in Iran between America and Israel, and the quote unquote, as Pete Hegseth and Trump are saying, the terrorist regime of Iran. The world is seeing that, Esau, and more specifically the chief of Esau, Edom, and Amalek, which are the so-called Ish people, have been profiting from, blood for a long time now. And that they benefit from, the labor, and the suffering of other people, whether it be these Amalekite, these J-ish banking dynasties like the Rothschilds, etc. And the entire world is taking notice of that, man. And at one point they even had a hand in, selling our forefathers, as you're about to see. So I'm gonna let this video play, and may this lesson be edifying.
Didn't know this, watch this to the end.
I'm reading Tiny Hat Selling the Slaves.
I bet you didn't know this, watch this to the end.
I'm reading Tiny Hat Selling the Slaves. Oh yeah, they forgot to mention all of this in the Rockefeller schools. And people say that's not true. Well, you should read this one. This guy was a rabbi who wrote this one. And you know the term layaway? That came from when rabbis were selling slaves. Yes. And this has pages and pages of all the auctions and the rabbis selling the slaves. Check this, Jacob Cohen, okay, owned a plantation. Yes, all the plantations were ran by the Tiny Hats. 294 enslaved Africans. He was the president of the synagogue. You can just look this stuff up. And what got even deeper is I found Charleston, 1825. That was the original place of the slave marts. And they own the merchants, they own the ships, they own everything. And look at this, Charleston, Tiny Hat, slave traders. Now, since the Tiny Hats own all the newspapers, if they tried to run away, they'd put an ad up trying to get the slaves back. Then it got deeper when I found out that the Tiny Hats owned the police too. So if people tried to run away, they owned both sides. And it's wild because there was only two people who actually spoke up about this. That's why it's hidden from you. And also when Christopher Columbus came over here, now you understand who Christopher Columbus was. And this is why the Tiny Hats, the Charzarians, have been kicked out of all these countries. Now you start to understand.
So Amalek, the chief tribe of the house of Esau, Edom, those small hats, they had a hand in, the auctioning and the selling of the tribe of Judah, which are the so-called Negroes, African Americans, blacks, all these different bywords and proverbs. The head tribe of the house of Israel. And the scripture said that what? The stranger would rule over us, and he will be the head and we will be the tail. And this is more confirmation that those Amalekites are not the people. Because as far as society goes, in the world, Amalek is the first of the nations, man. He's not the tail. He's not the one borrowing from the lender. He is the lender. He is the banker. They're the ones that own the banks with the little hats. They own the entertainment industry, the music industry, and the media, which means that they can falsify information and make it fit their narrative when they don't want the blame to be upon them. And now that the world is catching on to their bullshit, catching on to the wicked tactics, it's becoming harder and harder for them to hide themselves, man. You can even do your research on your boy Epstein. He actually had ties to, Israel and Mossad, you know, and allegedly Israel, they with the info on Epstein, they have blackmail on none other than Trump, or as the Apostle Tahar calls him, Nero 47. So the world is on to these people, and they've always profited from blood. This is Deuteronomy 20, chapter 28 and 43. It says, "The stranger that is within thee," meaning all the heathen nations round about us, the Israelites, "shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and a wonder, and upon thy seed forever." So ultimately it was a curse that, the stranger that is within thee, these different heathen nations, especially Esau, Edom, beginning with Amalek, beginning with the elite class of society, they would get up very high above us. And we would have to go to the enemy in want of all things, man. For food, water, raiment, clothing, all of the essential things for life. And these same people had a hand in our captivity, in our forefathers being sold. They owned the auctioning blocks. And as you've seen in that video, they even owned the police, man. And whenever the slaves tried to run away, they would send people to take them back, man. Whenever Jake tried to flee from captivity, and the hard bondage wherein they were serving at that time, man. Let's get Exodus chapter 21 and 16. Because here it is, these Amalekites, they call themselves the people of the Lord, but yet what did the scriptures say about what they were doing? It says, "And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death." So, these Amalekites are supposed to be the true people of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. They're supposed to be the Israelites, right? Shouldn't they know that it's completely going off to steal a man and sell him into slavery, especially a actual biological Israelite, not no imposter, Edomite Khazar denier, as Elder Malcolm calls them, faking to be the Israelites, actually selling real biological Israelites. How much more of a punishment do they have, to endure because of what they've done? But they don't care. And that's why eventually, as we're seeing in the world, from a war, economical, geopolitical standpoint, Israel and America are going to war with Iran, and they're currently losing. Iran is currently putting belt to ass, destroying $1 million defense systems. The American army, they're losing billions of dollars, a day. They're destroying Tel Aviv, making it look like Gaza, opposed to what the mainstream media narrative of the West is pushing. Amalek is feeling it, man. Esau as a whole is feeling it. Why? Because they're getting ready to pay for what they've done and all the wicked acts they've committed, specifically towards the righteous, man. The Israelites, the apple of the Lord's eye, his children. Let's get the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 16. "An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, But if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. And that explains Esau Edom's behavior to the T. When you see him out in public, when you see him on live television, these politicians, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, you listen to the way that they speak, these comforting words that they speak, talking about how they're going to bring justice to the people and liberate their nation. But yet they've gotten themselves into a war. While in the middle of peace negotiations with the country that they're currently going to war against, man. Why? Because they speak sweetly with their lips, but in their heart is violence. And they're always looking for ways to overthrow the enemy, man, especially by gaining their trust. And Esau has the ability to reel people in with his words, especially the wicked of our people. These damn sellouts, they've fallen for Esau Edom's trap. Both the men and the women of our nation, specifically the Judite women. But in his heart, he's imagining how to throw you into a pit and how to shed blood and how to profit from that blood being shed, man. Verse 17, if adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance, man. Esau, Edom, Amalek, they've always been trying to profit from blood. And whenever there's adversity, whenever there's trouble in the earth, best believe Esau, Edom has something to do with it. Because he's looking to gain something, whether it be oil, because Esau, Edom, he already has, the money, the riches, the fatness of the earth. But he wants more. And ultimately, what does he want? He wants complete control over the mind, body, and souls of people, which is what's going to lead Esau, Edom, and Amalek to bring in that NWO, which is a monetary digital system which will be headed and controlled by the MOTB, which is what our elders and apostles have been trying to tell you people for so many years, for 4 decades, since the 1980s, up until the time that the apostles first came on YouTube, which is in 2007, up until now. For 19 years, this internet ministry, this glorious ministry has been going strong. And, the vibration that the men of Yahweh Shema Shai pushing out, especially exposing Esau, Edom, and Amalek, these Khazar deniers, is stirring up tension in the world, man, through the spirit of the Lord's mouth. And Amalek has not only profited, from our people, but from his own as well. As I'm about to show you in this video right here, look at what Amalek has done, as far as the food industry goes. Hold on. Salaki, I want to pause it. Let's see. Yep. Wait a minute. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it says an interview with the Rabbi Abraham Finkelstein, an Amalekite, interview with the son of the devil. It says, and there's a statement from an Amalekite rabbi concerning what they do to children, in the food industry. It says, the first paragraph, it says, we steal between 100,000 to 300,000 children a year. Just here in this country, talking about America, we drain their blood, we mix it with our Passover bread, and then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own. We grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets. No wonder why that McDonald's CEO, took that little last bite out of his sandwich. Because they know the process that this food has to undergo for it to be served in these restaurants across America, man. And just like the same way Amalek had a part in our slavery, in shedding our blood, he had a part in the blood of these children being shed, for it to be added to the McDonald's menu. It says, and the people that eat it for breakfast, they eat their children for lunch, and us issues, we gotta do what we gotta do. Then he said, we've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years. Down to Adam's time, we take the children of our enemy, which is the white race, aka you Edomites who haven't gotten a piece of the pie, with Amalek as far as, financial situations go, seeing as you're struggling in your own country. We bring them to the basements in the synagogue where we drain their blood and watch them die. And it is very similar to how we do the sacrifices that we do with kosher butchering. So once again, man, Amalek, Esau, Edom, profiting from blood. There's a statement from a rabbi concerning the process of what they do to children, and how they, add those children to the menu, which should remind you of those Epstein files. When the Epstein class was feasting on those children, extracting that blood from them, that adrenochrome. In those files, man, these billionaires, politicians, they said that babies taste like cream cheese, man. So this is how this devil gets down. He's willing to profit from blood being shed. And if you don't believe this statement that I just read, well, here's the audio. It says, full interview between Rabbi Abraham Finkelstein and Pastor James Wickstrom. Let's check it out.
Believe anything we tell them. And, in the meantime, we have a lot of fun around Passover where we steal the children. And, I know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country. And we drain the blood and we mix it with the Passover bread. And then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own. And we grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets. And the people, they eat it for breakfast. They eat their children for lunch. And, as Jews, we gotta do what we do. The most important thing to remember between you, Pastor Wickstrom, and me, Rabbi A.B. Finkelstein of New York, that we both have two fathers, and so that's why we look at the world in two different ways.
And there you have it, straight from the horse's mouth, And it's funny, right below is a video called Slaughterhouse Children. Hey, that's what them devils was doing. They had a slaughterhouse. And instead of it being cows and beef, it was little children. 6, 7, 8, however old those children were, they got turned into McDonald's meat, man. So, hey, this devil is being exposed on a very high level, and it's only a matter of time before these devils fall. And they get the 1,000 years of hardcore slavery that they most certainly deserve. Let's end it off with that 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and 3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And who is that ultimate man of sin? Esau, Edom. Who is described in the book of Malachi as the border of wickedness. This man is the epitome of wickedness in the earth. He has no boundaries, man. There's no limit that Esau, Edom has to his wickedness. He'll do just about anything to fulfill the lust of his own flesh. Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as the Most High sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is the Most High. And this man, he has the attitude. He believes that he is God in the earth, man. That's why he has all this pride, all the technology, the missiles, the weapons that he's created that have laid waste to entire civilizations. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This man believes that he is God, but he isn't God. He is the physical manifestation of Satan in the earth, man. Verse 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all powers and signs and lying wonders. And you can't tell me that this right here isn't the working of Satan, man. You know, taking little children, you know, doing unspeakable things to them and adding them to a McDonald's menu. You know, there are people that eat McDonald's every day, not even knowing that they're eating someone's kid, man. You know, that went missing. You know, kid on a milk carton, on a missing poster. You know, vanished without a trace. You know, got trafficked and used for these vile purposes, man. So, hey, man, it's over with for this devil. The entire world is on to you devils, man. It's only a matter of time before our Lord Yahweh Shai returns and destroys this wicked-ass kingdom and brings you devils under us, man. And we're going to put our foot on your necks. And eventually we're going to do away with you, man. Hence, Obadiah 1 and 18, man. So I hope this lesson was edifying. And with that, I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakak Wadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. You know, Kwam Yasha Allah, a Bible ball. And I'll see you on the next lesson, Lord willing.